Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Big Brother 27 Roundtable podcast. This is, of course, the podcast about everything from the feeds, and we rate the players from 1 to 10 based on how well we think they are doing in the game. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me today is, of course, Melissa. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk about what has happened this week. I feel like I was just telling you guys before the podcast started that I don't feel like I have any better sense of like how these players are going to do in the future or how they're playing right now. I just feel like everything is still very up in the air. I don't feel like there's any solid alliances or anything. And so it still feels very random. So we'll see how this goes.
Yes, and joining us this week to talk through everything going on the feeds, it's QT. How you doing, QT?
Hello, I'm doing amazing. I'm so excited. We were just saying this is my first time podcasting with Melissa. So as a Rob has a podcast super fan, it's a big moment for me. But yeah, like Melissa, I'm very confused on a lot of these players, still trying to wrap my head around like whether or not they're good or bad or just in a good position or bad position. So I'm excited to talk about it because I feel like my thoughts have been very isolated in my own head. So I feel like after talking with you guys, maybe I'll have a better understanding, hopefully.
Yes. Well, that's the hope. That is certainly the hope. The last time we spoke, Vince was the HOH. He had just nominated Kelley. And of course, through the week, it was looking like it would be Kelley or Zay that would be evicted. And ultimately, Kelley won the blockbuster competition, leading to a Zay eviction because he came for the queen and he got beheaded. So that led to a Jimmy HOH. He had some pretty easy nominees in Keanu, Kelley, and Adrian. Adrian for having voted against the majority. And the reason that he voted against the majority was that he was siding with and giving his word to the house targets, essentially, Kelley, and was linked to Keanu. And so with Kelley, Keanu, and Adrian on the block, the HOH week was set to be a pretty decent one, but there was a problem. There were some powers that Keanu and Kelley both had that had to do with veto competitions and veto powers and all of that stuff. Keanu was able to use his power to tag team in Casey Clark, who won the veto for him, and was then able to use that veto to remove himself from the block. In his place went Amy. And as we speak, the feeds are down right now, theoretically, for Kelley's separate veto competition. That if Kelley wins this separate veto competition, she will, and it's like a solo, Leah in Janky World, Caitlyn with her puzzle kind of deal. She will then win another veto, be able to take herself off the block as well. And then if that happens, the plan is for Will to go up on the block, leading to an Adrian, Amy, and Will scenario for the block for the eviction this week. Melissa, what a wild ride.
Yeah, I mean, with all these powers and everything, it's so hard to know what is going to happen at the start of a week. I feel like Jimmy had an initially good start, but these powers just throw a wrench into everything. I mean, the good news is that it does. First of all, we seem to be flushing. We flushed 2 of the powers this week. If that's actually Kelley playing in her thing today, that's great. Because for me, the powers are not why I watch Big Brother, and I just feel like it gets so convoluted, and I prefer to not have that. So, if we're gonna flush them out, then great. That's fantastic. At the same time, definitely makes Jimmy's HOH harder because he has to nominate 1 million people. So yeah, I guess ends up as a wash, maybe. I don't know.
Yes. QT, what do you think of Jimmy's HOH week so far?
I don't know. I'm not as impressed as I thought that I might be. And I know, Taran, you talked about this on one of the live feed updates in the past few days, but he like talked a big game, and then now it's like he's retreating back and kind of scared to make any moves. And on one hand, I understand because it's so early on in the game. You have your idea of who you want to nominate. It's already hard because you have to nominate 3 people initially instead of the normal 2. And then now with the powers, it's like one thing for powers to be involved on your HOH, but for there to be 2 different ones that are used in the same week, I feel like is really hard. So I can understand why he's hesitant, but I think at some point you just have to kind of like go for it and make the big moves and not hide behind all of that. Because if you are going to be nominating so many people, it would suck for the end of the week to come and you get out someone that is not even like doesn't look good for your resume. So yeah, I don't know. I agree with Melissa too about the powers. I'm not a huge power fan, especially I feel like it's so early on in the game. I think they could be a little bit more fun and interesting later on when sides have formed and there's more like alliances, where this year we have no like solid alliances. So there's nothing that I'm looking to be like played with or tarnished. So I feel like it's just like, I don't know, it's not being used in the way I would be more interested in seeing it being used maybe a little bit later on in the season.
Yeah, also, or like in a situation where we like care about anyone. No offense, but
Right.
I just feel like it's like I don't care yet about anyone. So it's like if someone uses the power, I'm like, okay. But I feel like in the future, when we have like a rooting interest in someone, it's more likely that we'll be like, oh man, this power is crazy. But right now it's kind of just like, oh, okay, I guess like Keanu's still here. Okay.
Right.
I guess Kelley is still here. Okay. I don't know. I guess like the one thing is that Jimmy's target, Keanu, is still in the house, and maybe that will impact things moving forward. You know, that would have been the quote unquote like big move. It's getting Keanu out this week, and then that didn't happen. So, you know, I guess that's the one thing is that now Jimmy has to do kind of like a pullback move where he kind of does the safe thing, which isn't as fun to watch, I think. But at the same time, like, who else is he really going to go for right now? There aren't really like huge targets yet in the house, and it's like so early. I get that it's like that excuse of like, oh, it's too early to do this. But like, I do get the sentiment sometimes of like, okay, the first couple HOHs should be a relatively easy situation where like a house target comes up and you can kind of like make some good alliances and then get out someone easy. Like, so I get the logic there. I know it's not as exciting, but yeah.
Yeah, I also think with the Keanu thing, it would be more interesting if Keanu was actually saying that he's going to like target Jimmy next time he's HOH. I feel like he's still a little bit hesitant or feels like Jimmy didn't actually mean it, or I don't know. I've heard that going around.
So all somehow Rachel's fault. Didn't you hear?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, like how do we get back there? So I feel like that's why even more so it's not exciting, because even that little piece that would have been interesting to see if Keanu gets HOH next week might not even end up being as interesting as
like if he just goes and targets Rachel, it's like, okay, well, that's cool.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to talk a little bit about this idea of like it being too early, because that is Jimmy's excuse to not do other things that his allies would prefer him to do. But like I think the question of being too early, I think is it's one that I think that is often talked about on Survivor, especially because on Survivor in the current like meta game, if you take out the biggest threat too early, a new biggest threat comes into play, and that might be you. And so you might want to like wait until the right time to take out the person. But you actually don't usually see this happen on Big Brother. Like there are very few instances in Big Brother history that you'd say like, you know what, man, they really took their shot too early at this big target that wasn't their ally. Like you could maybe say like they took out Heisem too early, but what the reality is they just shouldn't have taken out their own ally, Heisem. Whereas you wouldn't say like, oh man, they took out Christian and BB23 too early. Like, no, they didn't. They took him out as soon as they could because they needed to. Or like they took out Brent too early that season. Like, no, they definitely should have taken out Brent. Like that was a good play. And so, I mean, you know, my thing is like, why would you want to wait to take out somebody that is a threat to win the game, to be an obstacle in your way of winning the game? What we often see in Big Brother is that the more threats you can get out as soon as possible, the more you start to steamroll the rest of the game. And listen, as a viewer, I'm mostly fine with it. Although, I can't help but feel like Jimmy, I feel like you sold me some goods that you're not delivering on in terms of your gameplay so far.
Wasn't his thought though that like Keanu is the big target to get out early, and now he can't? So now it's like, well, I guess I'll just like I can't. I guess if I'm thinking from his perspective, like he thinks Keanu is the big target, I'm just going to go for it because he's a big threat, and also like the house is kind of like on board with the idea of it doing it. So like that's actually a good move for me. And I've like kind of called my shot, and I've said I'm coming after him, so I might as well just take that shot. But then when Keanu then gets taken off the block, the idea of then being like, okay, well, now I'm going to put someone else on like another big giant target on the block. Then you've got multiple big targets coming after you. I feel like if you take your shot at a big target and you miss, like it's not an ideal situation for you to then take another big shot and then like potentially another big shot. Like once you've taken that first shot and it misses, like I do kind of see the point of like kind of going back into the shadows and being like, actually, let's just, I only have one big target actually. So you guys are all safe and we're all good,
Well, I think the point is less about like removing or going after big targets versus small targets, and more about like, what are you doing to set yourself up moving forward? Like, who are you targeting? Like, for instance, you could look at Cliff's HOH in Big Brother 21, his first one, where he initially makes this big move going after Jackson and Jack. But with the threat of a diamond power veto, you could say like then makes a weaker move. But the reality of what he did was he swapped sides, right? He said, okay, instead of going after you guys, I'll take out one of your targets on this side, somebody that I don't particularly trust, which ended up, of course, being Bella. And what I feel like Jimmy is doing right now is not so much being like, well, I tried to take out Keanu and Kelley, so instead I'll like super team up with them, although he is kind of doing that. But he's also at the same time burning bridges that he has, like burning allies that he has in order to make this lesser move. When instead, I think the backup play is a move like Rylie or, or just full on targeting Adrian or something along those lines, right? Like somebody who is neutral, that is truly like the smaller play, right? The notion of it being too early to target a player like Rylie, I think, is where the mismatch comes into play, because Rylie is actually an easier target than somebody like Amy.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I guess I'm just trying to like see it from Jimmy's perspective. Like, I don't think it's a good move at all what he's doing, but I guess the thought is like, well, these guys are weaker players, and like other people in the house have suggested maybe getting them out. So it's really not that, like, it's not actually my move. I'm kind of just doing what the house wants, even though that's not actually the case. And there are people pushing like not to have them go on the block. Like, I think like I absolutely think that he should be putting up someone like Rylie or something like that, because it just feels like that would be a move that doesn't piss people off, and also a move that benefits him in the long run in regards to like competitors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also think that what he's saying about like putting Amy or Will up, trying to get them out, because if he sits next to them, he goes home instead of them. I feel like, well, instead of putting them up, put up another person who's going to potentially put you up. Like, who's the person that's going to get you into that scenario in the first place of being next to a Will or an Amy? So I feel like, yeah, at the end of the day, he just put the wrong person up and has the wrong idea of who to put up if Kelley wins this next veto.
Yes, well, the feats have come back, and we have learned that Kelley did win her competition and won her veto. I've been trying to determine if she's already used it. And I think she has. I think she has pulled herself off the block. If so, I assume Will is now on the block. I would be very surprised if that were not the case. But I am just relying on bits and pieces at the moment. I am sure that she won the competition. I'm not 100% sure that she is off the block yet, although that is what I'm seeing in the chat as well. So I think the final noms have been locked in: Will, Amy, and Adrian.
Disappointing noms, I would say. I honestly don't want any of them to go. So, it's too bad.
I agree.
I do have some survey results talking about some of these decisions, but let's start there because we are talking about these renoms. They just finalized. I did ask the audience if they agree. Is Jimmy choosing the correct replacement nominees? And 89% of the audience agrees with the two of you. They say no, these are not the correct nominees. And I guarantee you, if Jimmy were listening to this podcast, he'd go, then who? Give me a suggestion. Don't just say you disagree. Give me a suggestion.
Right. And then not listen to the suggestion.
And be like, I'm still not hearing any suggestions.
And he would say, no, I'm not doing Rylie. It's too early. And then we would say Ashley, and he would say, no, she won a veto before.
Yeah, just very disappointing. I'm actually curious that who the 11% is it that said he's making the right move, why they think so.
Well, 9% thought that Vince should have nominated Kelley last week. So I assume that they are 9 of the 11%. And then 2 more percent were like, you know what? We'll throw J-Bone a bone here.
Yeah.
Now, I did also ask the audience, who do you want to be evicted this week? I did have to include Kelley because she wasn't off the block until now. And she did take 54% of the vote. So strike her from the record. Of Amy, Adrian, and Will, I wonder if I can actually remove her so I can give actual the rest of the percentages without having to do math. But at the moment, I don't know how to do that. So
I'm trying to do right now.
Well, listen, you know what? No, I can do this pretty quickly. If Kelley is roughly half, these are going to be some rough estimations. Amy then is a roughly 50% of the remaining vote. So about 50% of the remaining vote chose Amy as the person they would like to see leave. Then around 20, am I doing this? Yeah. Then around 25%, but then that would leave 25% for Will. So it's right, because I'm not accounting for all of it. It's more like 60% and 25% and then 15% roughly. That Amy top choice, then Adrian, then Will down.
Why
at
is
the
Will
bottom.
down at the bottom?
People don't want to see him leave.
I guess so. I mean, I don't want to see any of them leave, really. I guess I don't know. I guess who is the most, it seemed to me like Amy is the most I don't know the word, in the house. It seems that she's got the most relationships in the house, or working relationships, it feels. Is that not correct?
But it's the most support, I would say.
Yeah, I also feel like because she's kind of not good for Rachel's game right now, that people might be like, we just need to get her out of the house so Rachel does better. If the audience is on Rachel's side, which I think most people are.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll find out when we do favorite players.
We will indeed. So let's go to favorite players. Let's do it. I asked the audience to rank the players from their favorite to their least favorite. I'm obviously very curious to know what the two of you think is true. I think, I'll try to give you some even footing here and remind you both of who was first place last week.
Rachel.
And that was Rachel. And last place was Rylie. So I will ask you this week, who do you think was first place?
Rachel.
Yeah, I feel like Rachel, maybe Ava. I feel like Ava has been getting a little people have been liking her a little bit more. So
Yeah, I think Ava would be number 2. I just feel
maybe
like Rachel has like this staying support, but
Yeah.
I don't know if Ava could have overtaken Rachel just yet, but
Yeah, that's true. Okay,
although the
let's go
chat seems to
Rachel.
think it's Ava, so I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I do not give partial credit. You are both wrong. It is, in fact, Ava in first
Wow,
place.
she surpassed. That's crazy.
Already
I know
in week
because she's
2.
very like memeable and everyone just loves to like say what she said online. So she's been very in like the forefront of things. And she's been playing the game really good. So
Yeah, I do like Ava, so I get it. But I am surprised it happened already because I felt like it was like Rachel was going to hold her spot for a little bit and then someone was going to like, come in. But guess Ava's already up there. So then
Yes.
is it Ava and then Rachel?
Is that your official guess?
Yes.
How about you, KT?
yeah, that'll be my official guess too.
Yes, Rachel is second place.
Okay. And then is it what? Is it Morgan?
I feel like Mickey or Morgan, right?
No, yeah.
I'm going to go
or
Mickey.
Morgan. Okay, I'll do Morgan just so we're different.
Okay.
QT pulls ahead. It is, in
Okay.
fact, Mickey in third
All my
place.
faves on the top.
and I'll just say it, Morgan is fourth.
Okay.
So, yeah.
We have our
so
finger on the pulse.
The
yes,
women.
last week it was Rachel, Morgan, Lauren, Mickey, Ava. This week it is Ava, Rachel, Mickey, Morgan, and Will in fifth place.
Whoa.
Wow,
Will
I'm
jumped up.
surprised by that.
Mm-hmm.
What's Will been doing that everyone loves so much? Like, he seems fine. I like him, but like I haven't seen anything that was like, oh man.
Yeah, if anything, I thought that maybe people weren't liking him as much right now because he's not like as integrated in the game. So interesting.
Yeah. All right. I'm very curious to know then, who do you think is at the bottom? Last
Kelley.
I bet Keanu.
Oh yeah, Keanu.
You
I'm
are
gonna say
both
Kelley.
wrong still.
What?
Oh.
Is it Rylie still?
It is still Rylie.
What is Rylie doing that is pissing everyone off so much?
I guess nothing. I guess that's the problem.
That's the
I
thing.
guess maybe like that he likes cat or something. I don't know.
That's interesting to me.
I'm very surprised, but okay.
Second to last. Who do we think is second to last?
I'm gonna
Keanu?
go Kelley.
Keanu is correct.
Okay. And then Kelley,
And-
probably. Or Vince.
Then it is Kelley. Yeah, it is Kelley.
Okay.
And then is it Vince?
No,
And then
actually.
is it Jimmy?
There are two
Is it
people
Ashley?
above Vince. Who do you think they are?
Above Vince.
Above Vince meaning like Vince is there and then there's two.
It's
Wait.
it's
Oh, no,
Rylie,
there's two
Keanu,
people and then
Kelley.
Vince.
Then there's
I see.
two people. Then it's Vince.
Okay.
Let me look at the
Jimmy.
list.
Maybe.
I will give you a hint. They are connected.
Oh, Ashley and Amy.
Yeah.
Mm.
Which one's lower?
Amy by a hair. It's
Oh, wow.
not significant. They're pretty close.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess
Um,
that makes sense why people want Amy out.
Yeah.
They're like, get her to the boot. She's down near the bottom.
All right.
Yes. So the order is Ava, Rachel, Mickey, Morgan, Will, Adrian, Lauren, Jimmy, Zach, Katherine, Vince, Ashley, Amy, Kelley, Keanu, Rylie. Some big jumps here. Of course, Ava went from 5th to 1st. Lauren fell from 3rd to like 7th. A lot of these people in the middle Zach did bump up. He was 4th to last week, bumped up to like a middle ranking. And Keanu fell some spots. Amy and Ashley fell significantly. Amy was about a mid-range player last time, fallen to the bottom. And Ashley was 6th last week and has fallen all the way down to close to the bottom. So lots of shifting. That's expected in the early weeks.
Yeah. I can see.
No
I
one's
mean,
safe.
like, it's also hard, I think, because, well, at least for me, I still feel like I don't know them all that well. And so it's like any little thing is like, oh, okay, now I'm like, they've got to go down near the bottom because it's all just like everyone can kind of be interchangeable. And then someone does one thing and you're like, I guess that means I don't like them as much as the other person. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's honestly, it's interesting how consistent it was comparatively, given that everybody ranked these players on one night of feeds last week.
yeah, that's true. It's like, yeah, no, our first impressions were right.
I asked the audience to rate the episodes this week. And last week, they thought the episodes, this is actually the wrong one. Last week, the episodes were given, this will load for a moment because I closed it because I thought I was done with last week, a 7.3. This week, down to a 6.3.
Ooh, a little plummet. Yeah, I feel like feeds have been pretty interesting, but episodes not as much of showcasing it all. I didn't even watch last night's episode. I forgot that it was on.
Yeah, the episodes felt really long, which I never say about Big Brother episodes. I feel like normally I'm like
Wednesday was really long.
Yeah, but I'm just like, even like, well, that's the thing is I was like, oh, I was watching them later after the fact. And so I was watching and I was like, oh, this must be like the hour and 30-minute episode. That's why it feels so long. And then I checked and it was only an hour. So it was not. And I was apparently just really bored. I don't know. It was not great. I'm never bored during Big Brother.
Oh.
Yeah.
Except for during the competitions. So, okay. I am sometimes bored, but yeah, it felt long.
I also asked the audience to rate the feeds this week. Last week, they were a 7.5. It was one night of feeds. This week, a 6.9. Bit of a drop there as well.
Yeah, that's interesting to me. I feel like, in my opinion, feeds have been getting better. Like things have settled a little bit more, and I feel like I'm more invested in watching them. But again, I guess it was only one night. So it was also probably that push of like, feeds are back. Yay, we get to see these people. Yeah.
All these people are new. What are they doing? What are they up to? Now it's kind of like, okay, we kind of know a little bit of their deal.
Yeah. But I feel like there's always something going on. Like someone's always talking and going into rooms.
There are a lot of feed cuts. It's very like, and not in a way that's like, oh, feeds are down for a while, you can come back later. It's like feeds will be up for 10 minutes, down for 10 minutes, up for 20 minutes, down for 15. Like just really intermittent and frustratingly cutting. So that has made the experience of watching feeds much less enjoyable, I would say. On top of the fact that I would also say that this week has so far not been the most interesting strategically, because the initial nominees were so easy, and then Jimmy kind of just like decided on these new replacement nominees with very little discussion, and you know, it's been kind of interesting to see people plot against him because of it, but we haven't seen the full ramifications yet, and the campaigning hasn't started yet because we've been just waiting for the ceremony and for Kelley to figure out if she's going to get her veto and all of that stuff. So hopefully things pick up today now that things are locked in. But you know, I would agree that this is not for a Jimmy HOH that I think a lot of people were looking forward to. I think that this was actually even less fun than Vince's HOH.
I think it's true. Yeah, I think it's hard when it's like we don't know what the noms are, so nobody can actually like do any campaigning. Nobody can rally votes or decide like who they're going to vote for, because it's all just like up in the air, and people are saying, well, we're going to have to see who the final nominees are. We don't really know what's going to happen with these powers and blah, blah, blah. And then it's just like speculation on who has whatever power or like talking about it or whatever. And that's like, you know, not as fun for me as like the campaigning and the actual like, okay, who's going to go home this week and can they save themselves, etc.
I also asked the audience to rate the season as a whole so far. Last week, a 7.4. This week, a 7.1. So a little bit of a dip there for sure. Now, comparatively, last season in Big Brother 26, week 2, the feeds were given a 4.7.
Oh, wow.
The episodes were given a 5.5. This was Chelsea's HOH reign, where we had like the same nominees. We're like volunteering, and the week was very slow. The season as a whole was given a 6.7. So,
yeesh.
Yeah,
you know, comparatively not that bad, especially because we do like BB26. And it makes me wonder, like, I think maybe what this twist is doing is the early portion of the season and the early portion of the week is not as exciting as we're used to, but perhaps maybe a bit more longevity for exciting things. And I think we're probably seeing that in the lack of real structure. And that's compared to like BB25 feeds were given an 8.0 this week. And BB24 was a different story. That was a 5.6 that week. Yes, so that's where the audience is at for the game, for the show this week. I also asked the audience to rate Jimmy's HOH reign. They gave Jimmy a 3.6.
Oh my gosh. He would die to know that.
Chelsea's was given a 5.7 last season. Heisem's in season 25, a 2.9. So worse than Jimmy. And then I don't think we did it for 24, so I don't have that one. But yes, so he's not the worst.
What was Vince's rating last week?
Vince's rating last week was a 2.7.
Ooh, interesting.
No good HOHs so far.
Yeah. But again, I feel like Jimmy's HOH is not like detrimental necessarily. I mean, people are, it is bad to like be an HOH and have people talking about coming after you because they don't like what you're doing, but it's not like he's getting out an ally, like last
at the very
least to get out Kelley.
He's not taking out an ally, but he's losing allies, which can sometimes be an acceptable loss, but I don't think he's intending to lose allies.
Yeah, and I don't think he realizes that he is.
Yeah.
So yeah, he can't plan against it.
All right. Well, are we ready to rate the players? Should we get into the ratings?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's bring it up. Of course, this is the portion of the podcast where we rate the players from 1 to 10 based on how well we think they are doing in the game. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best.
Dark mode again?
Dark mode again. I made it even darker.
Wow. Spooky.
Let's go for it. The criteria can be anything. It could be vibes. It could be you ate a chapstick recently and you're feeling antsy. Or it could be what I try to do, which is something along the lines of like long-term prospects, short-term safety in the game, and how much do I agree or disagree with decisions you made this week. Because sometimes, as we saw last week, I can heavily disagree with the moves you're making while acknowledging that the position you're in is not like game-ending awful. And so we can account for that as well with some of these ratings. So let's begin. Of course, we also polled the audience to get what they were thinking. And I would like to start with Adrian, who is on the block this week and definitely could go home. He is on the block against Amy and Will, who are not the biggest targets in the world. And while he should technically have the votes to stay against them, Amy has a lot of support. There's not a lot of reason to take out Will, and he has proven himself to be a very good competitor. He came in second place to Casey in the veto competition. He came in second place to Zach in the first competition on night 1. And I also have to say that he has not exactly done himself a lot of favors this week and last week. The way he voted and the way that he's been socializing and strategizing in the house this week has been very, I would say, lackluster. And he has really given people the opportunity to continue to put a target on his back. He spends a lot of time with Kelley, who is a big house target, and is now off the block. And I think that there is a heavy assumption that if Adrian sticks around, he's just going to be a number for Kelley and Keanu. And while both of those players are starting to get a little bit of that Dr. Will, my target is so big it's invisible, you still don't want them to also have extra numbers like Adrian. And that is a problem for him. He is in a lot of danger. I think I have to give him a 3.
Yeah, I want to give him a 3 as well. I feel like first of all, we can't see our ratings from last week, which totally throws off my strategy, which was going to be basing my ratings off of how they did last week and saying whether they did better or worse. But I pulled them
They
up
are
on
there.
my
It's
other
just
screen.
it's just
So
harder to, it's
that's
just
fine. I
like
have it on my other screen, so
it
I
just
can
doesn't
take a
look as
look.
nice if you. Oh no, you know what? You
Nope.
can kind of get it all there.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
It's just a
Yeah.
little bit.
That's nice. That's nice.
Maybe if we make it like
It's
a
good
little
for me
small.
at least.
It's just like
So
now it's like okay, here we go, and
there
we're
we
just
go.
closer.
Yeah, like
It's
last week
like
I gave him a 5 because he was kind of just in it, but he wasn't really doing much, but he was like not a target and it was like good for him. And first week a 5 is fine. If you have a 5 the first week, you're like fine. But this week, unfortunately, he's on the block. I don't think people would care that much if he like ended up going home. I mean, I don't think he's going to go home. I mean, anything could change. People could be like, actually, what he's on the block, like why not just get him out? He's a good like competitor. But it just doesn't seem like he has very many allies in the house. And I just feel like even if he stays, it's like, will he kick it into gear and like realize he needs like real allies in an alliance or something? Or is he just kind of like just be there? I'm kind of surprised by his performance. I felt like I didn't think he was going to come in there and be like his intro video. I felt like that seemed very disingenuous, but I did think he was going to like try. I don't know. I feel like he's just kind of fading into the background, but not the kind of fading into a background that like is intentional, more just like no one is working with him. He's not really doing anything and people are willing to just let him go. So yeah, he's a 3 for me.
Yeah, I have all my ratings down for these people, but I knew they would probably change once I start talking to you guys. I initially have a 4 for him. There's part of me that wants to keep the 4 for a few reasons, because I agree with everything that you guys are saying. He's not in the best position. Him having like the closest ally of Kelley is not that great, and people knowing that. But I do feel like even though he's on the block right now, because he is a good competitor, there's a chance that he wins the, what is it called? Not AI,
Blockbuster.
The BB Blockbuster. Yeah. So there's a chance that he wins that, gets back in, and then is able to kind of pivot from there, especially knowing that he's just gone on the block. I feel like Adrian's kind of in the position where like T-Core and Chemo were for me last year, where I feel like they know what to do. They have a good sense of the game. I just need them to actually do it and make allies outside of each other. That's how I felt about T-Core and Chemo. And that's kind of where I am with Adrian too. Like, I think he knows what to do. Maybe just socially he isn't as good as some other people in the game, but hopefully he can do better. So I think I'm going to give him a 4 just because I believe in him. There's like a part of me that just wants him to do better. And I think that if he stays this week, he can. But there's also that big possibility that he goes home. So I wish I could give him like a 3.5, but I'll round it up to a 4.
I do feel that, you hear him talk to himself and like pep talk himself, and you want him to do well, like there's something so earnest and admirable to me about how much preparation he did to get into the game. I do wonder like what his methods of preparation were, because I'm not sure that like all of those things have been super successful so far, but like he I feel like cares more than a lot of the people in that house, and also kind of seems like he needs it a little more than a lot of the people in that house, and so you want him to do well.
Yeah.
But his grandpa's got to get those earbuds, so you want him to do well, but it's definitely not looking amazing this week.
I think
the audience
struggles like socially. Like I think he's just not really the type of person to just be like a social butterfly and go out there and chat. Like I feels like Morgan is very much more like she's always in the conversations and she's like people seem to really get along with her and things like that. And I just feel like he kind of maybe is more shy. I don't know. It's hard to really tell, but it just feels like I don't know. He's just struggling in the social department, and like maybe he has the strategy. Maybe he's like good in that way, but we don't know because he's never talking to people.
Yeah, especially with such big personalities. I feel like I can relate to him in some ways too, where like even when I did battle camp and it was more, the circle was easy because I was just like in the room by myself and able to just do my strategy without worrying about what other people are saying or when I can fit into conversations. But like with battle camp, when it's live and there's people there and you're maybe not the person who's the first to talk all the time, especially in the early days, it can be hard to, you have all these ideas in your head of what you should do, what you should say, but with such big personalities on reality TV, sometimes it's hard to like integrate yourself into that. So I feel like maybe I see a little bit of myself in him. That's why I'm bumping him up a little bit. But yeah, I agree with everything you guys are saying.
Yeah, and I think it further highlights the error of how he approached the previous week, because the way that I often look at Big Brother, there are these built-in tools and mechanisms for people who wouldn't naturally fit in and who don't naturally have those social skills to be able to like integrate themselves and work their way into things. And so like last week, the house was really split and everyone was desperate for votes. And so the fact that he had a very key vote was like a superpower socially that he could have used, right? Like, hey, I have a vote. Let's talk. Let's have conversations, and you can try to woo me over to your side. And in the process, we'll get to know each other a bit more. We'll develop a relationship. I'll promise a vote to somebody. But instead, he very early on just said, I've made my choice. Don't even bother talking to me because I'm not voting for you. And that just completely closed those doors. And so it's kind of no wonder that, like, on top of having trouble to begin with, you know, everyone else was focused on anybody other than Adrian last week. And it sort of has him into this position where he is now. So, you know, just another thing to, I think about if maybe you see yourself as an Adrian going into a Big Brother house, is that like you really have to take advantage of the times when you do have a little bit of reason for people to talk to you. You use it. Like that's your opportunity. The audience did agree with Melissa and I on this one. They did give Adrian a 3. All right. Amy, also on the block right now. Right away, we're talking about her. Melissa, how do you feel about Amy?
Was she on the block last week too, at this point?
She was.
When we rated? Yeah, because I was going to say, like, oh, well, it's worse now because she's on the block, but she was
looking like the safest person on the block last week.
Yeah. And she's now looking, well, I guess is she looking like I thought I was hearing that Amy was in trouble, but then I started hearing that Will was in trouble.
I personally feel worse about Amy's odds this week than I did last week, but
yeah, I mean, like,
that doesn't mean she's leaving.
I don't feel good about her, not only her odds, but just like her strategy in the game. I feel like she seems to be like distancing herself from Rachel or something, and I feel like Rachel is like a good ally for her. I mean, yes, Rachel's a big target, but like Rachel would protect Amy. And I feel like Amy needs somebody at this point. And I feel like I'm worried about her chances moving forward. Even if she survives this week, I feel like she at this point now is going to be like an easy nominee. They're just going to say like, well, just put Amy up. Who cares? And, you know, the more times you put her on the block, like the easier it is to just be like, oh, well, let's just let her go. Who cares? So I don't really know if I see her lasting a long time. Yeah, I think she's a 2 at this point. It's not great to be on the block both weeks in a row.
Yeah, I think that she's going to be a 2 for me too. I feel horrible about her chances ever. Like, I can't even imagine a world where Amy's final 2. I mean, I can maybe in like the sense of Victoria in season 16, where like she's kind of just taken to the end and could be in that position, but I don't even see her making it that far because of how often she's on the block. And I think every time she's on the block so far, there's a chance that she goes home. It's never just like, oh, she's there as a pawn so that the other person we can get out. It's always like, well, what if we do this and take Amy out because of Rachel? Or I don't know. So yeah, I don't feel great about her odds in the game as a whole, let alone this week, really. Also don't think it's a great idea that she's blaming Rachel for being in this position and like trying to distance herself. I don't know. I think she's just in like a really weird, sticky spot. Like, you've already gotten so close to Rachel. And I think that is a really good ally to have. It's unfortunate. Yeah, you're being put in the spot, but I don't think Amy is being put up as a pawn only because she's friends with Rachel. I think that is an added benefit to the person that puts her up. That's like, okay, if we get her out, we do get out one of Rachel's allies. But I don't think that's necessarily why she's being put up. And I don't think she understands that, which makes me feel like she doesn't have a good sense of really like what's going on in the game. And despite her position being pretty good and her being in some alliances and having people on her side, I don't think it's going to end up being enough for her in the long run.
Well, I see the chat asking for ones for Amy. They're like, 1. Amy's a 1. Here's the thing, though, chat. You guys gave her a 3.
Whoa.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Yikes.
That's crazy.
And I'm also not going to give her a 1 here. I'm going to agree with the 2. I think that here's the thing. She's on the block. She definitely could go home. I think the biggest knock on her game and her game sense is that like she is now like fully blaming Rachel and talking with Ashley about how Rachel is going to target them and they might need to target Rachel. The only reason I'm not like pulling her all the way down to a 1 because of stuff like that is because like as of right now, it is just like venting with Ashley. It hasn't actually translated to how she's interacting with the rest of the house too much. She hasn't been trash talking Rachel to anybody but Ashley, really. If she were to win HOH next week and put Rachel on the block, yeah, I'll probably give her a 1. That's probably going to happen. But right now, it just, I think, is giving me not a lot of hope for her game moving forward. And then listen, I thought about it. I considered it for sure, but she's not quite there yet for me. But let's talk about Ashley, who is perhaps worse in terms of her active thinking bad things, but also has some good reads and is also not on the block. So, QT, what are your thoughts on Ashley?
Ashley's a hard one for me. I'm kind of between a 3 and a 4 for her. I kind of want to go 4 because I'm like, if I gave Adrian a 4 and he's on the block actively right now and like has a possibility of going home, I have to give Ashley a 4 too. I think that she thinks she's probably in a pretty good position, but again, I don't think she's very self-aware enough in the game sense of where she actually stands, which means she's not able to make up for the people that are against her. It's just like the self-awareness. I feel like that's not there really. And people are like trying to get her, like nudge her like Mickey's and Morgan's, but I don't think she's like really seeing it. But again, she's in a good position, much like Amy. She has some good allies, but I think she also has enough people that are willing to get her out and say bad things about her to other people. So yeah, I don't know. I feel pretty neutral about her right now, but like a little bit less than neutral. So that's where the 4 comes from.
Well, the audience is a little lower on Ashley. They also gave Ashley a 3. So 3s across the board from the audience so far. I will say Ashley was the highest 3 amongst Adrian and Amy. She had a 3.2, 3.21. Adrian was a 3.19. Amy, they did come close to giving Amy a 2 at a 2.65, but it still rounded up to a 3. So I'm going to agree with the audience on this one. I'm going to give Ashley a 3, and that is because her reads are sometimes good, sometimes absolutely abysmal. I think that it's like, I think maybe the way to put it is that like her read on the general structure of the house tends to be pretty accurate. Her read on how any of that relates to her is Keanu level bad, like just opposite of what she thinks. Like Morgan, for instance, is consistently trying to defend Ashley in particular. One of the reasons she's talking about how Katherine is bad news is because Katherine is trash talking Ashley, but acting nice to her face. And Morgan doesn't think that's a good thing. Morgan and Mickey are talking about bringing Ashley to like their final 5, final 4. And in the meantime, Ashley is like, we got to take down Morgan. We got to take down Rachel. And today, Ashley refused to help clean, got into an argument with Rachel about it, and then said, the fact that Rachel wants me to clean this house when I don't clean at my own house, so why would I clean in this house, tells me that she's not on our side. She needs to hit the block.
That's so insane. That's so insane. Yeah, I'm going to give Ashley a 3 as well. I just feel like QT said, like, she just lacks self-awareness. And I think it's not only just in the game sense. I think she just lacks self-awareness generally. I mean, we saw it with the shower thing. I mean, who knows what that actually was, but even like to the point that people were like commenting on it, even if it wasn't a 2-hour shower, like the fact that people were commenting on it and the fact that she wasn't just immediately like, oh, I'm so sorry. Even if she thought that was stupid, like, because people are upset about it and you're in the middle of a game, like you might as well just like apologize or whatever. And then this cleaning thing. Yeah. It's a lot of just like, it's stuff that's like not great for everyday life, like not great at all, but also like really not great for when you're playing a game with people where you have to live with them in a house. It just is like, you don't want to give people any reason to be like, yeah, let's kick this person out. Like even if I didn't want to clean, I'd be like, if other people were cleaning and asking me to clean and I like wanted to make sure people weren't mad at me, I'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll clean a little bit, even though if I was annoyed at it. It's just, it's not great. And I think that she's not game-wise also, like she's not really in a good spot and game-wise. And there are so many things that she does that people could easily just pull and be like, yeah, this is why I'm nominating Ashley. Like she's an easy target. And she doesn't seem to have that many people really actively trying to protect her. I think people like Mickey and people who like are working with her, like, you know, they probably would not want her to go next or whatever, but I don't think that they would, you know, put themselves in harm's way if they thought that Ashley was the consensus target. So she's just really not doing herself any favors at this point. So yeah, she's a 3.
Yeah, I think because, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think because I'm so high, which we'll see later, on Mickey and Morgan, and they're the ones that are in her corner and protecting her. And even how Morgan was kind of like snappy at Katherine when Katherine mentioned like, oh, wouldn't it be bad if Ashley left? Because I'm so high on those players and those are the players she's connected to, I feel like she's in a better position because of that. But again, it's like, what is she going to do with that? And yeah, in her own hands, if she's isolated by herself, I don't think she's a great player, but I think she's in a better position because of that. But who's to say like that Mickey and Morgan will continue to do this? Like at some point they might just cut their losses and feel like it's not worth it.
Yeah, and her social standing in the house is so bad right now that like the only real shot she has of like gaining respect in the game is if she starts winning a bunch of competitions, which is not impossible because she has already won a veto. So, you know, there's theoretically still hope for Ashley, but it's definitely not looking great. But let's talk about Ava. Ava was given a 5 by the audience last week. This week, they're a bit higher on Ava. They gave her a 6. 6 this week for Ava. And honestly, I'm kind of inclined to agree, I think, this time around. I was impressed by her at the end of last week. She is in a position where she, quite frankly, should be a person that is an option for nomination this week because she ostensibly has no like outward connections of people that would be really upset with her. Or upset with her going on the block, I should say. Instead, somebody like Amy, who a lot of people are pissed about, is going on the block. But her social game is just very good. People really like Ava. There's like an issue where she's not like in any major alliances. She's in the Bond, but that's not a real alliance. But here's the thing. There are no real alliances. So it kind of doesn't matter. Like there are people who are insulated. There are people who have relationships. There are people who are playing the game. I think that Ava is kind of like 2 of those 3 things. And I think that that's pretty good in this house with no real structure. Things could get bad fast if a structure forms and she's not part of it. But I think a lot of people, if they form a structure, would look to include her in it. So yeah, I'm not feeling too bad about Ava right now. If she was maybe a little more active game-wise, I'd feel even better. but right now I think a 6 is fairly apt.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of want to go with a 7. I just feel like people really like her, and I don't see people targeting her anytime soon. And not only that, but I do think that she's very smart, and I think that the way that she like interacts with people puts people at ease and makes people feel like good about her. And I feel like she I mean, we don't see a lot of her strategy talk, so like we don't know exactly like how she will be if she becomes like a major player, but it seems to me that the strategy talk that we do here is good and she kind of knows what's going on. So to me, I think that I'm impressed with her, and I just feel like I kind of want to just go out there and give her a 7 and spice things up a little bit. So I'm going to do it.
All right.
Lovely. Perfect. I'm gonna give her a 6. I really love Ava as a person. I've been loving watching her. I think she's so fun, and I think that does go really far in a game that's so social. And like Taran said, she like puts people at ease, and I don't know, just has good conversations with people. Unlike Ashley, I feel like she's very socially aware and knows how to have conversations. And yeah, so I feel good about her in that sense. I am curious to see what she would do in 2 scenarios. In a position of power, I would love to see her as HOH. I don't know necessarily if she wants that right now, because I think she's in a good floater kind of spot where she doesn't have to make big moves. But I would like to see how she operates from a position of power. Also would like to see how she would operate from the opposite end of like being nominated, or I don't know, how she would get through that, because in a game that I feel like is very fluid this season, I think there's a good chance that all of these people end up being nominated, but definitely Ava, because she's not super integrated into anything that's super solid, which again, not a lot of people are, but people at least have their solid little pods. I feel like nothing is a big alliance, but there's all these like little pockets of people that are very solid. So yeah, I'd be interested to see how she operates if she were to be on the block and if she's able to get more people on her side. But yeah, I feel like when people are talking about forming these alliances, Ava's name is one that always comes up. So in that sense, she is in a good position. But yeah, I just want to see a little bit more from her game-wise, because I think she's really good socially, but I want to see a little bit more of the strategy and see what she has there.
Well, let's move on then to Will, who I think we've already talked quite extensively about Will over the course of the week, and that just frankly bad decision to kind of promise his vote one way and then also promise his vote another way, and then ultimately side with the losing side. Ends up getting into conflict with Keanu, weirdly, which I can't really blame him too much for, but definitely didn't do himself any favors going in that direction. He is on the block and is also theoretically in a position to go home on the block. He is probably the safest person on the block at the moment, but I don't think that is like saying a ton. I think I just have to also give him a 3. That's where I'm at with Will.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I feel like even if he is like the safest one on the block, I just don't feel like he's got a strong position. Even if he does stay, I don't feel like he has a strong position in the house. So it's not like, well, if he just like lasts this week, then he can really build on something. I mean, hopefully he can, but at this point, I'm just not really seeing it. So especially like, I feel like he could. I saw a lot of conversations between him and Amy, and so it seemed like maybe they were like connecting. And I feel like if she's gone, then like that's another person that he could potentially work with gone. So yeah, I don't know. I want to give him a 3 as well.
Yeah, he seems to have lost a lot of passion for the game. It feels like he's got a little tiny 3 in the bottom. I don't know what's going on there.
That's funny. I have to give Will a 3 as well. It's like a little bit of a higher 3 depending on like where he goes from here. Yeah, I don't think it's great that he's on the block. He's not really integrated in much. He was in a really great position, I felt like, at the end of last week before the whole vote thing. And even after that, he was able to get himself out of most of that trouble of like him voting the other way. I think he could do really good socially, but he's just not trying hard enough. I do also feel like he's lost that passion. He keeps talking about like, I think at one point he even said he doesn't know if it's worth it because if he's not going to win anything, or like the young people are really good together and he doesn't know like how he integrates himself in there. I really was high on Will in the beginning of the season because I felt like he was going to kind of break that mold that we normally have of like the older player not being able to get along with or not really integrating themselves well with the younger people, because he seems like such like a fun, vibrant personality that would be good. I thought that maybe in the first week he was a little quieter because he was a have-not and that had something to do with it. I know now he's like injured or something maybe, so maybe that has to do with it. But again, there's just like I keep wanting more from him and wanting him to try a little bit harder. He kind of just like sits there and laughs at like all the young people doing all these things, but I want him to like put himself into the conversations a little bit more. But he does also have a good sense for the game. Like when he is talking game, sounds like he knows what he's talking about. He sounds very strong. He's also like Ava, I think, another person that when people talk about building alliances, they include his name in there. So yeah, I just want a little bit more from him. So that's where the 3 comes from. Again, very much in between a 3 and a 4. Wish there was a 3.5, but it's going to be a 3 for Will.
Well, the audience did give him a 4, so they were just slightly higher on Will. But Melissa, what are your thoughts on our next player, Jimmy?
Look, like I said earlier, like I understand his position. I don't think he made really the right moves this week, but I can see where he's coming from. I don't think this is a good HOH for him. I think like if he was just getting out a target that was kind of just like not a big move, but just like a small move and kind of going with the house and whatever, and everyone else was satisfied, I'd be like, this is actually not that bad of an HOH week because there was all these powers and everything was happening. So like we can give him a break. But the fact that he's not necessarily going after like a consensus house target and instead is going after people and like upsetting potential allies or upsetting people that would have worked with him or were working with him by doing these things, that's not great for him. That doesn't reflect well on him. And I do think that moving forward, like he's going to be in a bad position. And not only that, I feel like, Keanu's hard to read. I honestly, like, I don't know whether Keanu after this week is going to be like, okay, well, that's easy. I'm just going to go after Jimmy. Or if he's going to be like, all's well that ends well. Like, we don't care. Like, whatever, we're friends. I don't, Taran, you shook your head, I guess.
Keanu's after Rachel and Morgan. Okay.
Well, that's the thing. It's like that. Yeah. Like Jimmy kind of lucks out in that way. But it's still not great. So, I don't think it's as bad as Vince's HOH because Vince, nominated an ally, or like his number 1 ally. So that's not great. Sorry. Dogs are being annoying. Girls, please stop. I'm trying to rate someone. So yeah, I guess, I don't know. I guess like, yeah, someone in the chat just mentioned this. Irie Days just mentioned that shouldn't he get some credit for flushing the powers? I do think there is a bit of credit that is deserved in that way. The fact that he was able to suss out the powers, the fact that he like stood next to people while they got the powers to make sure that he knew who was getting it, and people were telling him, Kelley told him that like all about her power and he was able to kind of suss out what to do. I do think that that's useful information. It's good to get those things out there. So, I can't decide whether a 3 or a 2, honestly. I feel like I'm just going to give him a 3, I think, because I don't know how he moves forward. I do think he still remains a big target. I don't think this was a good week for him. I don't think he really accomplished anything that he wanted to accomplish. And then moving forward, I do think he's a target. I think people will see him as a target still. So yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to give him a 3. I think, I don't know. I'm not totally sold, but whatever.
I'm a little bit higher on him. I think that unlike some of the other players, like he's able to talk himself out of things, maybe. Even as I say that, I'm like, is he? I don't know. He's a talker. So he's very social. He's always saying something to someone. I think last week as a viewer, I didn't love what he was doing, and he was kind of using the HOH as if it was his own, but he was able to do that and able to like be in Vinny's ear. So I don't know. There might be like some loyal followers to him. I think he had the right sense of what to do this week and getting Keanu out and the people that he initially nominated. Yeah, he does have that upside of flushing out the powers, but not that that's necessarily like good for his game because he did it during his HOH. It would have been better if it was someone else's, but at least they're gone. But yeah, there's a big chance that he just becomes another target. I don't know. I'm like a little torn on what to do. But I don't think he's in like a horrible position. I think he's in a worse position than last week, definitely, which it sucks because you're HOH. You should only be getting better. But I think he was able to like solidify some stuff. I don't know. I'm almost talking myself out of giving him a higher rating. But I think I'm going to settle at a 4 for him.
All
because
right.
if he isn't, oh, sorry. I was just going to say, if he doesn't go home next week, I think he can like reestablish some things and get on better footing. I think next week is very pivotal because he won't have power anymore. Depending on who gets HOH and what they do, I think will depend a lot on whether or not he gets higher or lower in the rating. But yeah, I think 4 is good.
The audience does agree with you, QT. They gave Jimmy a 4. But I am with Melissa on this one. I'm going to give him a 3. I do think that he deserves some credit for the fact that he was making good noms until the powers really came in and messed him up. What I will say, though, is that, theoretically, if the powers hadn't existed, he was still planning to nominate Amy, and one of his nominees very likely was going to win this veto. Adrian likely would have won this veto if not for Casey. He would have taken himself off the block, and Amy likely would have been Jimmy's replacement nominee, and he still would have gotten into all this trouble. In fact, in some ways, that may have actually been a worse HOH for him because of how wild Keanu and Kelley are, and the fact that that Keanu is now not after Jimmy anymore. And part of me also wants to give Jimmy some credit for flipping Keanu back around. But I'm just not sure that it actually has anything to do with Jimmy. I really think that it is just has way more to do with Keanu and his weird obsession with blaming women for all of his troubles in the house. Like he literally just like believes everything a man tells him except for Will, I guess. And just like fully just does not trust the people actually trying to work with him in Morgan and Rachel. And so I feel like given that Jimmy seems to fail to convince anybody else of much of anything, I feel like it's probably more Keanu than Jimmy. And I think that what he's doing right now, the way he's handling it even more so, is just so bad. It's just so bad. Many mistakes are being made, and so it's going to overall average out to about a 3. It doesn't mean that he's like dead in the water going into next week again. It's mostly just like, when we have an HOH, we're really rating their decisions, and so because they're making more decisions than other people, and so that is Jimmy for you.
Sorry,
I'm so distracted by this.
So he just wanted to say hi to me before he goes in the other room. Hi,
you're so cute. Hello.
What do you think, Callan? You want to rate a player?
Oh my goodness, his eyes! I'll cry.
What do you think of Jimmy?
Yeah, what do you think of Jimmy? He's just staring at the chat.
He matches with the background.
That's like his mom.
Yeah,
looking directly at the chat the entire time. There we go. Sorry.
So cute. That was a perfect reset.
All right, so it's going to be a 4 overall for Jimmy. Next up, I believe, QT, you will start us off with Katherine.
Sure will. Katherine, I don't know, just for me personally, isn't really doing it. she's not in like any alliances. She's not in a good position. I think even with Morgan and Mickey, who again I'm pretty high on, I feel like them feeling like she's their target and someone that they would want to go home. I think ultimately Katherine and Lauren are kind of in a similar position where they're kind of not really in anything, maybe can be considered floaters in some sense. But I think Katherine's a little bit worse because whenever they talk about Katherine and Lauren being on the block together, it's always like, well, Katherine needs to go, if anything. So I feel pretty low on her. I also, like, I don't know if she's doing well in competition strategically. I don't know. She's just not like putting herself into the game the way I would want someone to. I think I have to go with a 4 for Katherine.
Yeah, I'm surprised actually looking at Katherine's ratings last week. Melissa and Puya gave her 6s, so she didn't end up with a 6 overall. So I guess we'll have to get back around to Melissa to see what she thinks of Katherine now. But the audience does agree with you, QT. They gave her a 4. And I also agree. I just feel like I think a 4 is appropriate for Katherine here. In fact, I could go as low as a 3, given how much she's being targeted at the moment. Yeah. I just don't know how much that will really stick and how much people will really feel like she's a threat to get out of the game early enough as as early as next week. But she's just not talking game with anyone other than really like Jimmy right now or maybe Lauren sometimes. And she's not like properly socializing outside of her bubble. She really needs to kick it up. I do think she has that gear, but I think somebody needs to kick her into that gear. And right now that's just not happening. Melissa.
Yeah, unfortunately I agree. She's a 4 for me. I feel like last week, a lot of the ratings for me were based on like, I mean, we didn't get to see much. So it was like, are they good at socializing? Does it seem like they fit in with people? It was not really like game related. And now I just feel like we're not getting a lot from her game wise. People are targeting her. I'm worried for her. And it doesn't seem like she is really doing that much game wise. And I think like, you know, maybe it is just like finding out that people are targeting her. Maybe she gets targeted next week and then it kicks into gear and she's like, oh, I maybe she thinks that she should be kind of like laying back and coasting because she's in a safe spot when really that's not the case. And then when she finds that out, she'll like, you know, step up and really start gaming. I don't know. I do think she has it in her, but she's just not really doing it yet. So, yeah, 4.
Yeah. A little nonchalant in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let's move on then to Keanu. Keanu is obviously he's Keanu. The audience has given him a 2, the lowest rating of the week so far, despite the fact that he did have Casey win the veto for him. At the very least, he didn't win it, despite what he says, but he'd have Casey win it. And is not on the block and is not going home. Now, I was actually kind of planning to come in here to say, guys, I think that we may need to keep an eye on Keanu because his stock is rising, because Jimmy is, you know, still after Keanu, but like Keanu's not after Jimmy anymore. And so that's kind of like a good thing. And so, you know, there's not as much urgency from Jimmy's camp to take Keanu out, and Jimmy can't even win next week. And Jimmy doesn't have the power anyway. And we've also been seeing like Rachel and Morgan and Mickey talking about like, we might need to work with Keanu. Like we might need Keanu to help us take Jimmy out. And all of a sudden it was like, who's got any urgency to take Keanu out anymore? Like it's not really there. However, I'm looking at a conversation right now between Morgan and Rachel because Morgan just tried to talk to Keanu and Keanu just talked to Jimmy, and Rachel obviously has been trying to talk to Keanu, and Morgan is making it clear to Rachel, we can't work with Keanu. He is 100% not after Jimmy. There's nothing we can do. He's just always going to think you're the devil incarnate. And Rachel's saying, I know, I've tried. And so I think he just put himself back on the top of most people's lists. Which shouldn't be surprising, and is why I will Man, I'll give him a 2. I won't go down to a 1, but I will give him the 2.
Yeah, I want to give him a 2 as well. I just feel like he's always doing the wrong thing. Like, I just feel like he's always thinking the wrong thing. He's always saying the wrong thing. He's always getting into fights with the wrong people. It's like, I just don't have any faith moving forward that he can like really do well. I don't know. I just feel like there's always going to be a situation where he's doing the wrong thing. And you know, he also is a physical threat. So it's not like he could ever really go under the radar. He's a physical threat. He's also just always talking and doing things. And there's always some drama with him. There's always something going on. And like, there's no way he could just skate through any week. I just feel like there's always going to be something going on with him. So for me, he's a 2.
I actually feel better about Keanu. I'm thinking about giving him like a 6. No, I'm kidding. There's just no way. He's like one of the worst players I've seen in a very long time. Yeah, like there's just no way. Because if Casey doesn't win the veto for him this week, he's like the clear target going home no matter who he's next to if he doesn't win the BB blockbuster. And he hasn't even been winning comps. So like the one thing that I felt like might be going for him, he doesn't even have that anymore.
QT, how dare you? He won this veto.
Right. He won this veto, sure. I mean, I guess he won the power to get the veto, so like in some sense. But no, like
it's very funny to me though. Like if you watch how he won it, he literally just like walked down a hallway, happened to pick up a thing that was next to him. It was the right thing.
Luck based. Yeah, I just think he's in horrible position. To your point, the point that both of you have made. It feels like as soon as someone starts to feel good about Keanu, he's like, no, we got to get them out, hate that person. And then as soon as someone targets him, i.e. Jimmy, he's like, no, we're good. Don't have to worry about Jimmy. We're chilling. But it's like Jimmy had you on the block to go home if you didn't win the veto. So yeah, he just doesn't like have a sense of anything. Also, even like last week when he like thinks he has an idea, whenever he thinks he has it all figured out, he feels very adamant about what he thinks. And he'll go around telling everyone that. And then all of a sudden someone will bring up something that disproves everything that he was thinking. And he's like, back to ground zero or back to square one. So he just like does not have any kind of sense for the game. Like Ashley,
he's the smartest person in that house.
No, there's just no way. Like Ashley, he's not socially aware. There's like nothing going for him. So he also is going to be a 2 for me and like my lowest rating out of everyone. It's just really bad.
All right, let's move on then to Kelley. Let's talk about Kelley. Last week, she got a 1, an overall 1. That's hard to get. And that is largely because she volunteered for the block and would have gone home if not for winning the blockbuster competition. And therefore, I think still deserved the 1. However, this week, she was also on the block and would have gone home if not for winning a competition. But she did win that competition. And so, hey, Comp Beast Kelley, Kel heads on the rise. She's Tucker 2.0. Kelley does kind of have the thing going for her that I was talking about with Keanu, where, you know, the longer she survives, the less people care about taking her out because Keanu is more presently a problem and Jimmy's becoming a problem and Katherine is becoming a target and Morgan is becoming a target and Rachel is a target. And, you know, all of these things are happening. And do you really want to waste an eviction on Kelley? Probably not. But what you will likely do is nominate her every week because why not? Because why not? There are 3 seats to fill. So I don't feel great about Kelley, but I do think that her competition ability at the very least for now will give her a 3 from me.
Yeah. And something I do want to point out that I forgot to mention with Keanu, like, I think everyone needs to say like Melissa was right. In my assessment in the draft, everyone
Keanu?
mocked me and said, I just don't like him or whatever. They said it was another Kylan situation. He definitely only watched the highlight reel And I
Yeah.
called it.
I gave you
specifically
props on the
said,
recap, Melissa.
and yes,
said-
I heard
said,
that.
Rob,
Thank you. I
Melissa's
appreciated
right.
that. I appreciated that because, you know, I thought it because, you know, the fact that he remembered like the specific quotes and like the specific, but only those details, like nothing else, just like a major moment, but that specific quote, like everyone's like, well, you remember the quote. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what would happen if you just watched that little like highlight reel with that being the major quote. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I had the sense. I knew it. Anyway, back to Kelley. For Kelley, yeah, it's tough because I want to give her a 2, honestly, because I just feel like she doesn't know what she's doing. She is constantly getting nominated. I feel like you're right. I think she's absolutely going to continue to get nominated because why not? Then even if she continues to get nominated and if she saves herself like every week because she's a comp beast or whatever, like that'll be even worse because then people will be like, wait a second, she's winning every week. We got to get rid of her. We got to actually get rid of her. She can't just be a pawn. So, you know, I'm worried about her because I also don't think that she has any like good strategic sense to back up anything. So I don't think that like, well, but if she does XYZ and she'll be able to pull it off or whatever, like I just don't have any faith in her. I think she's made some bad moves. I think she hangs out with the wrong people. I think she puts her foot in her mouth a lot of the time when she speaks. And I just, yeah, I don't know. I just don't feel good about her. I think, yeah, I think even though she took herself off the block, she was in once again a bad spot. So yeah, I'm gonna give her a 2.
Yeah, I agree with Melissa. I'm going 2 for Miss Kelley. I'm interested to see what the competition was that she had to do today to get this power. Because I mean, like, if it was like a Caitlyn thing, that's pretty easy. Even Leah's last year was like pretty easy, even though it wasn't gotten by those people. But still, I feel like usually the single competition things are not too hard. So interested to see that. But I guess she has that upside where she has been winning stuff. So maybe that makes people a little less likely to put her on the block just because they might feel like she can win veto, she can win blockbusters. I think this is a season like last season where it's hard putting someone on the block that has won stuff before because they have so many opportunities to win and take themselves off. So even with that she might possibly have, I think she's in such a bad spot with everyone in the house. I think there's a lot of people that I think we're starting to get to the part of the season where a lot of people are starting to have their own specific targets, like different people going after different people and not so much house targets. But I think that there's possibility, high likelihood actually, that someone becomes HOH and kind of just says the easy thing where Kelley is the easy thing to just put her up and get her out because it's something that a lot of people will agree on. And you won't get as much like blood on your hands, as they say. So even though I feel like sometimes people are looking at other people to target, I think Kelley can end up being the target if the actual target comes off the block or the HOH just doesn't want to make that big move, which we're seeing like right now with Jimmy. So yeah, I think she's not really doing good in the game. I don't see her going far at all. I don't know if these people even want her in the jury. So I don't see her making it even to the jury, let alone ultimately winning the game. She'd have to do a lot to get to that position. So yeah, I'd say 2.
All right. Well, the audience does agree with the 2 of you. They also gave Kelley a 2. People just don't believe in the Kell heads. That they're not. Where are all the Kell heads? They're giving her a 2.
Is that what you call yourself?
They're not even there. Yeah. Even the audience.
All right. Well, interesting to note as well, if you're looking at the color, the automatic color coordination here for the numbers, that 4 has now become the neutral rating for this season so far. 4 is now the average neutral rating. If you get a 5, you are in the green.
A 6 is looking like a 10 right now.
Yeah, right.
Crazy.
So with that in mind, Melissa, what are your thoughts on Lauren?
Lauren's tricky because I feel similar to her that I do with Katherine, just because I feel like her name was brought up as a target. So to me, that makes me nervous. However, I do feel like she has Zach there. I don't think Zach would really want Lauren to go. I think Lauren's maybe a little more insulated. And I think if it came down to Lauren versus Katherine on the feeds, I think that Katherine would go. So to me, Lauren's a little bit higher than Katherine, but not by much. So I'm going to give Lauren a 5.
Yeah, I feel like Katherine and Lauren, like I said earlier, basically in the same position, just Katherine's a little bit worse than Lauren because people are talking about sending her home if she's on the block. But everything that I said about Katherine can kind of be applied to Lauren too. I feel like Lauren's not doing enough to integrate herself into the game. She doesn't really, I don't know the last time I've seen Lauren talk game on the feeds. She's always with the same group of people. She's always with Katherine or Zach or whatever it is, tanning outside. Like, I just never see her in those conversations when people are talking about setting themselves up for the future and what they would do. She's not even really included in the conversations about like who the house is going to vote for or whatever it is. So yeah, I don't feel great about her in that sense. I'd lean towards honestly giving her a 4 maybe, because I don't even see, it's like Taran said about Katherine, like I don't even see who or what is going to kick her into gear. But again, she's a little bit in a better position than Katherine. So I agree with Melissa. I'm going to go with the 5.
All right. Well, the audience agrees. They actually gave her 5, almost on the dot, 5.01. And I will agree as well. I would give Lauren a 5 there also. Let me make sure this is working properly. It should be a 5, not a 3. Yeah, I mean, there's just, she is just in a slightly better spot than Katherine. She also has more game knowledge than Katherine. So if she ever is turned on, so to speak, in the game, I think that she has like a better capability of like figuring out the strategy on the fly, even though she hasn't really been doing much with it so far. But this is honestly, I think the highest I'll be on Lauren all season if she doesn't change gear. So we'll see. We'll see with Lauren.
I think she could possibly be in that Adrian mindset too, where like maybe she just is scared to be the one to start talking game. So if no one's talking it to her, then she's a little bit too socially awkward maybe to like start those conversations and doesn't want to get herself in trouble. But I don't think that'll work all the time for her.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's move on then to Mickey. QT, what are your thoughts on Mickey?
Mickey, my girl. I have loved Mickey since the second I saw her cast photo before I even heard her talk. And she has pleasantly surprised me. And I'm happy about that because a lot of people that I thought were going to do really good have ended up not doing good. So she's like my one hope that I'm holding on to. So yeah, I feel like she's in a really good position. I love her and Morgan. I love when they talk together because I feel like it's the most real game conversations that we get. And they both have a really good head for the game. I think Mickey is in a really good position because I don't hear a lot of people wanting to target Mickey. Everyone feels pretty good about her. She's like funny. She talks enough to people, but also is not like the center of attention all the time, being like the loudest one in the room, which I think can get annoying sometimes when you're living with all of these people. So I think just like in every aspect, I really like what Mickey is doing. So I'm going to give her an 8.
An 8 from QT for Mickey. Well, the audience gave Mickey a 7.
Okay.
7 from the audience. And
but that went up from last week because the audience last week gave Mickey a 6. So
that is true. Last week I gave Mickey a 7. And man, I am inclined to go to an 8. Here's the thing. I think if she had her power and it was like definitely going to work, I would easily give her an 8. The fact that there are now many people that heavily suspect, at the very least, that she has the power means that it's unlikely she will be able to use this power effectively, which makes it at best a neutral thing and at worst a bad thing, because people now suspect that she hasn't. If she tries to use it and fails, that could be devastating to her game. But she could still use it in certain circumstances. Like, for instance, if Keanu won the HOH, I think she could still get away with it. I think the rest of the house could know she has it, and Keanu could still make the wrong choice and stop himself from winning, from overturning Mickey's overturn. Otherwise, I really like what she's doing. I think that she has a great head on her shoulders. I think that she is very good socially. And I think that she is probably the player to beat right now. I think that she has all three of the things I'm talking about: position, activity, and relationships. The main thing now is like building a structure. She's not in power to build a structure right now, and yet she is trying. And if she succeeds, that would be pretty big. So with that in mind, I think I am going to, the problem is I need space for other players too. So overall, you know what? I'll give her an 8.
Nice.
I'll go for it. It was close, but yeah.
I forgot about the power thing and how people are knowing. So I can understand like wanting it to be a little lower, but yeah, between a 7 and 8 makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give her an 8 as well. I just feel like I've been very impressed by what she's been doing. And I also think it's kind of like, if we're not, I might as well just give her an 8. Let's just have a little fun with it. Otherwise, everybody else is like a 2. So I don't know. I feel like I just kind of want to reward good gameplay at this point. And I think, the way that she's playing is good. The allies that she's aligning herself with are good as well. Like you said, I like the Mickey and Morgan thing, and I feel like they could go far together. I've been impressed with her, and I think like even the fact that people know about her power, like I think she could probably still use it to her advantage. I mean, the fact that she has the power is good. I don't know if maybe like it'll be a game-changing power since everyone knows about it and they can kind of like actively work against it, I guess. Like, I don't think it will be like her downfall. I just maybe don't think it will benefit her all that much if people know about it. So yeah, I don't know. I've been impressed with her. So an 8 for me. All
right. Well, look, Mickey, by the power of Mickey, we're getting back to the 5s, getting closer to the average one here. Let's move on to Morgan then. And we'll start with the audience on Morgan. The audience gave Morgan a 6. A 6 from the audience for Morgan. And I think... So Morgan, for me, if I'm looking at my 3 categories at the moment... she's very active. Love that. She does have good relationships for the most part. So I mostly love that. And her position is mostly good. So I mostly love that. The problem is she has a couple of really bad, she has a couple landmines on this cast. Yeah. One of them is Ashley. That's a problem. It's a problem. The other one is that this whole Jimmy nonsense is falling on her more than anyone else. Jimmy is getting mad at Morgan more than anyone else. And then you also have this Zach stuff going on, which is, I think, like a long-term threat for Morgan. I think there are a lot of positives to Morgan's game, and I think she is a really big threat to win the whole thing. I really do. But I think that right now there are just too many mines she might step on. I'm going to stick to my 6 from last week.
I'm going to give her a 7. I agree with what you're saying, but I do feel like I have the most confidence in her. Not the most confidence, but I have confidence in her ability to get herself out of a bind or like work with other people. I don't feel like she's like so set on working with certain people that she then would abandon the idea of like, oh, well, this isn't working. Let me go somewhere else. Like, I do feel like she could be the type of person to like jump ship if she has to. I don't like the Zach stuff, obviously, but I I feel like she has a good head on her shoulders, and I'm giving her an optimistic 7 at this point.
I think for Morgan, again, like I was saying earlier, Mickey and Morgan are like two of my highest. I feel the most confident about them. I love them working together. I do feel like Mickey is doing a step ahead of Morgan. Also, my thing with Morgan is that I feel like last week when she wasn't even like in trouble really, but when the whole Keanu thing happened, I I don't feel like she necessarily played it right. I think she was okay with it all, but she kind of just like retreated and got really emotional about the fact that Keanu said that she was whatever he said. I don't even remember what it was. But it was really like a non-factor of what he said. But I don't know. I feel like she overcompensated maybe a little bit too much because of that. So I'm not sure how she would do if she were in trouble. And like Taran said, there's a lot of landmines here for her. So I think there's quite a possibility that she can at least be on the block. Whether or not she goes home depends on who she's next to, I think. But yeah, I'm just not sure how she would play from that position. I also think that maybe she like shows her emotions a little bit too much. Not even emotions, but I think when she has an idea about something and someone is against that idea, she makes it a little bit too obvious that she thinks that they're wrong, instead of kind of like a little bit of a back and forth. Like I just keep thinking back to the Katherine thing of when Katherine was like, oh, Ashley needs to go. And then Morgan kind of like snaps back at her and is like, no, Ashley's fine. Ashley doesn't need to leave. I think she can be a little bit more like flexible maybe, or at least show that
She'd
she
be
is.
better
even
at
if she
hiding
doesn't
her
have to.
feelings, I think.
Yes, that's it. Exactly. So I don't know. That scares me a little bit. So I think I'm going to go with the 6 for Morgan, but it's like a high 6. Petition to get 0.5s because a 6.5 would just be perfect for her, in my opinion.
All right. Well, let's move on then to Rachel Rylie. Last week, I gave Rachel a 6. I was a bit lower on Rachel than the rest of the Raiders. I think I'm roughly in the same ish spot. I mean, honestly, I'm tempted to even go a little down on Rachel. The thing is that like so many people actually want Rachel in the game for a while. That like she's not likely to be voted out anytime soon, and that means that she's got a lot of runway. So I'm actually like inclined to just give her a 6 again. I feel like there are lots of negatives, but there are also lots of positives. I do still feel good about like her strategic sense. Her social game is, unfortunately for her, not where it should be, but also not that bad. It's just like there are just some wild people in that house. And I think again, like the key is how many times and how many people have said, I want Rachel around. We need Rachel around. We want her here until jury. We want her on the jury. That tells me like even if somebody like Keanu won next week and nominated Rachel, he'd probably nominate her with Ashley, and Ashley would 1000% go home over Rachel in that spot. He might nominate Rachel with who else would he even nominate her with? Morgan. Oh boy, that would be dangerous for Morgan actually. But I really do feel like she's probably here for a while, and so I am gonna give her a 6. But it's definitely like this could start dropping fast.
Yeah, I'm worried for Rachel, honestly. Especially because like she feels like her biggest ally is Amy, and Amy is kind of going against her and might even be going home this week. So yeah, I'm a bit worried for Rachel. Not only that, but I do feel like she there's been like a bit of drama surrounding Rachel, and obviously it's like, not necessarily her fault, like it's Keanu or whatever, but there has been some drama. I could sense there being more drama, which I think at this point hasn't been too problematic, but I could see it becoming a problem. So for me, yeah, she goes down to a 6 because I gave her a 7 last week. Which it could go down again. I mean, honestly, like I'm a bit worried for her, especially because it doesn't feel like she has any like really strong allies. I would have said Amy, but Amy is not necessarily a strong ally. And even if Amy stays in the house, she's not necessarily a strong ally anyway.
I'll say it. I think Morgan is easily Rachel's best ally.
Yeah, but Morgan also has many other allies. So to me, it's like it's not a great spot for Rachel. It's like, yes, that's great that Morgan's a good ally, but it's like Morgan doesn't see Rachel as like her number one ally. So it's very, yeah, it's not super good for Rachel. I feel like she needs to find her footing. She needs to find like a group or like a person who she can really like bounce ideas off of and work with and everything. So yeah, it's a 6 for me as well.
Yeah, I think Rachel I think she's actually doing a little bit better emotionally than I expected. I've never been like a huge Rachel Rylie stan. I know that's probably going to get me canceled, but watching her first 2 seasons, I just always felt like she was a bit too emotional and rash. And I don't know, she like needed to win competitions in order to stay because no one liked her. I think she's doing a lot better than I expected in that sense, but I think she's easily poked. Like even with the Keanu thing, she like there's part of me that understands why she got so upset, but there's also part of me that's like he's just talking about your highlights, like he's not saying that to you. So I don't know, I feel like that could get her in trouble later on depending on who's in HOH and if they need a target and if she becomes a house target because of that. Also with her like biggest ally being Amy, it's like at the worst, Amy goes home this week. At the best, she stays and like doesn't want to be Rachel's ally. So I think as soon as she starts to realize those little things that maybe I think she has the best, not the best chance to like pull it together, but because we know how she plays and she understands this game probably, I mean, definitely better than any of the other players. I think she's most capable of fixing her situation. I hope to see that. There's like part of me that, no, I don't think I'd go as low as a 5 though. I think I'll stay with a 6 with you guys because I agree with everything. I think she still is the most capable player there probably, but I don't know. Her position is like very easily changed in the game depending on like a few things.
Well, the audience does agree. They also gave Rachel a 6. So, Melissa, what are your thoughts on Rylie?
I mean, I don't really feel like much has changed with Rylie. I guess the fact that he's considered a target, but then people don't want to target him, I guess that's good. I don't think he's doing all that much. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this one's tough because I kind of want to just stick with my 5, but at the same time, the fact that people were like considering targeting him, I guess, is not great. Do I think he's on the same par as Lauren or Katherine? That's the question. I guess I'll give him a 4. I'll give him a 4. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I agree with Melissa. I'd give him a 4 too. I'm pretty neutral on him, but he's just not doing what he needs to do. Like Lauren and Katherine, I mean, like that trio is just not the best gameplay wise. I don't even know what to say. I don't have any thoughts about Rylie because I just don't see what he's doing. Yeah, so I feel like the 4 is honestly probably pretty generous for him.
4.04 from the audience. They're right on a 4, and I'm going to agree. There's just not much to say of Rylie because he's not playing the game. So,
yeah,
I don't think he's, a likely candidate to win at this point. Again, he could get kicked into another gear, but right now it's just not looking amazing. But QT, what do you think about Vince?
I hate that I'm the one starting Vince off because I feel like I could be maybe a little bit delusional about Vince. I don't know. I'm curious to see what you guys think. I think he's in a much better position than he was last week. I mean, as HOH, terrible. He did terrible for himself. But like we've said for a while, first HOH just no matter what you do with it, you get yourself into a good enough position despite what your nominations are, who ends up going home, et cetera, et cetera. And I think Vince is like very clearly showing that. I don't think he's in like as great of a position as Mickey or Morgan, but no one seems to be talking about him too much as like a target. I think there's bigger targets forming around him. I think he's been able to settle into the game a little bit better than last week. I think he just was way too in his head about all the nominations he had to make. I don't think first HOH was like great for him, maybe necessarily like mentally. But I think he has gotten himself back onto a good foot. I think he knows the people that he needs to talk to. Probably because of last week, he was able to see who the bigger players were that were kind of influencing other people. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 6 for Vince.
A 6 from QT. The audience slightly lower at a 5 for Vince. I gotta say though, I agree with QT on this one. I think that Vince is about a 6. So like again, my three criteria right now, position wise, Vince is in one of the best spots. I mean, he is linked everywhere. Activity, he's very active. The thing about Vince, though, is he has zero influence, or at least he does not exert any influence, which is consistent with what he did last week. So he's very, very safe, but he's not doing anything active. Again, like if the powers weren't used, he would have lost one of his allies this week, and he wouldn't have done anything about it. But because he's so well connected, he is able to sort of just move to a different group and kind of be fine. My problem is like, is this how he's always going to play, or is he actually going to start to exert some influence later on? Does he have that gear? Does he have that ability? Because we saw him try a little bit last week and fail. So there's a question there. But then relationships wise, he's got a lot of good relationships. And so he is basically, what Vince is doing is he goes to every single person and pretends that he's their best friend, and he agrees with everything that they say. This has been very effective so far, and especially in this house, could continue to work for quite a while. He's included in most alliance, formulas, theories, like proposals. There's just, of course, like the danger is, will he get caught because he's always agreeing with what everyone says? And then will he use this to his benefit to actually get somewhere moving forward? He doesn't necessarily need to not get caught, and he doesn't necessarily need to use things to his benefit. Again, I think that that Nicole Franzel is actually not a bad comp here. At least portions of her game, because she did influence the game when Nicole Franzel had a phenomenal first HOH in her winning game. And she did actually push some things in 16. I would say Nicole Franzel, maybe, again, in parts of her game, maybe another comparison, would be somebody, man, I actually don't have a great Christine. Yeah, actually, Christine is a good comparison. It's the kind of player that, like a Christine, will just completely flame out. Not even flame out necessarily, but will just run out of space if they don't ever start pushing. But he's in a position to push. So the question is, does he have that gear? I haven't seen it yet, but he's definitely in a position to, and especially in this house, he's in a very good spot. So yes, a 6 I think is appropriate for Vince, and obviously very good for him that the blockbuster turned out the way that it did at the end of last week.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I want to give him a 6 as well. He's in just such a good spot, and it's crazy to like that he's going from a 1 to a 6 for both of us. But that's a huge jump.
I mean, he got 1s from us, 3s from the audience in Puya. I think that the 3s were more accurate to like his position at the time. He might have lost Kelley and stuff. I personally dropped him a couple extra points because of how unforced the errors were.
Right. No, you have. I mean, look, okay, you don't have to, I guess. But in my perspective, it's like if you're going to put your own ally, your number one ally on the block for no reason, like the first week, like it just doesn't make any sense. It's just, and it wasn't just that, obviously, but that's like the biggest thing for me is that like it's the first week. There are 17 people in the house. It's like you don't have to put your number one ally on the block. So it's just, to me, you know, I don't like it. And so, yeah, that's a 1 for me. But I don't necessarily think it's like, oh, he'll never win the game as a 1. Like, to me, someone can go from a 1, obviously, and then bump themselves up. It's just they played really poorly that week.
It's historically on the record, and listen, also it's more fun if we can give some more dramatic ratings when you have such, again, an unforced error. And so, you know, definitely here we go. Vince now moving up to a 6 overall. So that'll be a big increase for whoever invested in Vince, which I imagine is a lot of people, because I think a lot of people recognize that the 1 was a little bit of a penalty more so than his actual position. And so as long as he didn't do anything egregious in the next week, he was likely going to move up pretty dramatically.
I was so scared starting that one because of all the 1s and 3s last week. I was like, oh gosh, they're going to think I'm crazy and never ask me to come back to the Stockwatch.
I mean, I wasn't sure because the audience being a 5, I was like, I might be the higher one on Vince here, but you started with a 6 and I was like, okay, I think we're all going to be around 6 here. I did actually consider the 7, but I needed room for Zach, who I think is just in a better spot, which is giving away my rating for Zach.
Go ahead, Taran. Take it away.
Well, I can tell you the audience gave Zach a 7, and that is exactly where I am with Zach as well. Obviously, he's just in a very good spot. Everyone likes Zach. He's basically in the same spot as Vince with as many connections and relationships and position, except he also has a pocket 10K veto, and he has already displayed more willingness to play the game and be more active and push for things than Vince. He's also less on the radar than Vince. We did see a couple people, especially early in the week, like Rachel, mention Vince and how Vince is in with everyone. Very few people are talking about Zach. I actually think that Will was talking about Zach recently. I think during this podcast, I think I was reading that Will was talking about Zach. But I believe from what I was reading, everyone he talked about it with shut him down. So, you know, I think that Zach is still potentially Zach is still, I think, the most likely winner. Like Zach and Mickey, I think, are easily the 2 top players right now. And unfortunately for Mickey, Zach's power seems a little bit more effective at the moment. So, you know, the thing is, the reason he's lower than Mickey, in my estimation, is that he is less active than Mickey is. Less so trying to actively push for things he wants and form things. So he is currently reliant on the connections he has with players like Morgan. And if that ever falters, I don't know how he's getting in with these groups anymore. And that could be very dangerous for Zach. But right now, he's in a very good spot. It's just, it's a little bit, you know, we talked about this last season as well. Like, he's in a good spot right now, but is he able to actively maintain it and actively regain it if he ever loses it? We asked the same question of Chelsea last year, and we found out she was capable of getting it back. So we'll see what Zach is capable of.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with Zach. I think the fact that no one's really looking to target him, and he's a physical threat for sure, and nobody seems to really be bothered by that. I'm very impressed with his relationships with people and how he's kind of managed to stay a bit under the radar. I'm a bit nervous with him and the Lauren Morgan thing. I feel like I don't know exactly how that whole thing is going to go. And I think the good news is that it seems like, I mean, who knows what's actually going to happen, but it seems like Lauren has her head in the game. And so I don't think that I don't think she would let it be a situation where it's like, oh, now we're just like in love and then we like forget that we're playing a game. Like, I don't really see that happening. I mean, famous last words, maybe I'll eat them. But, you know, at this point, it seems like even if they were to get in a showmance, like I do think they would still be thinking like game. Who knows? But for me, yeah, I've been very impressed with Zach. So, you know, I feel like I want to give him an 8. I'm going to give him an 8. I'm just going to do it.
Period. I feel like, yeah, I'm in between a 7 and 8 the whole time I've been sitting here trying to figure out what I'm going to do.
We did not make it easy for you.
Yeah, right. No, I just feel like he's in the best position in the game, maybe even like a little bit of a better position than Mickey, only because he's so good with so many people that where for Mickey, Morgan is in not like that great of a spot where like Morgan can get targeted soon and possibly go home. And I think that would hurt Mickey a lot. But with Zach, I don't think there's anyone he's connected to that will go home and hurt him a lot in the way that Morgan would with Mickey. I feel like there's a lot of people that can go home that he's connected to that won't be detrimental to him. He'll be able to maneuver and move on to other people. I think he's like perfectly in the middle of a lot of things that are about to start happening. If Mickey and Morgan do target like a Lauren or Katherine, I think he can fall over to the side of Morgan, Mickey. And then vice versa. If Katherine or Lauren were to win HOH and it got back to them that Morgan or Mickey were trying to go after them, then Zach can maybe side a little bit more there. So I just feel like he's in the perfect position in the game. So that's why I'm like, I can't go lower than Mickey, but again, he's not being so active about it. So I think because he hasn't been so active playing the game, it put him in such a great position and no one's talking about him because no one's got word that he's talking about them. But I do want someone to be a little bit more active. I don't know. 7 or 8. I think I have to go 8 because I gave Mickey an 8 and I feel like Zach is maybe in a little bit of a better position than her. I'd go a little higher on Zach with 8.
All right. Well, there it is then, an 8 for Zach, and that is the Stockwatch for the week. You know, we got back to a 5s being the neutral, so there you go. We made it there.
We did
eventually. It's so funny because I feel like a lot of the people with the names closer to the end of the alphabet are the better players. So it's like as we go on, it starts to even out a little bit.
Yeah, it was looking pretty bleak for a while.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, actually, we're not so bad.
Right.
All right. Well, I can't imagine anyone is able to beat Vince's return if you went in on Vince here over on realitystockwatch.com. But you can head back over there if you want to continue to play. The ratings will likely be updated some point, hopefully soon. We'll see. So stay tuned for that. And otherwise, did either of you go in on anyone?
No, I forgot.
Not. No.
I mean, I would have been terrible, so it wouldn't have mattered. But
yeah,
whatever
I never
would have done would have lost me money.
Every year, I never actually do it, and I always want to. Is it too late for me? Like, if I didn't start the Stockwatch, can I?
It's not. You can start playing at any time. You're just not likely going to win because you've missed out an opportunity for profit. But you know,
okay, I'm gonna start.
It's not all about winning. It's about enjoying the process.
True.
Yeah, I never win. Well, you know what? I still try and be the best Melissa, and that's really all I can ask for at this point.
Wow, that's a great lesson for everyone.
You can be the best QT, so
right.
Hopefully. To be fair, like I mostly am never the best Melissa, so I don't think I've ever gotten best Melissa in the Stockwatch. So you know that's not a good strategy for me either.
This year might be your year. I'm rooting for it.
God, I hope so. I just have to start. Like I would actually start. Like I haven't done that yet, but this will be my year.
All right. Well, that is what we have for you then this week on the Big Brother 27 Roundtable podcast. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for a live feed update. Make sure you tune in for, I think the slop recorded today. It's normally going to be on Tuesdays though, over on the Patreon for RHAP. Our Patreon for RHAP. Wednesday, we'll have another episode. And then, of course, Thursday, we'll have our eviction. And of course, make sure you check out the book that I wrote about Big Brother called Behind the Mirror. You can pre-order it at taranarmstrong.com, where I talk about all kinds of interesting things about the show. And that's about it. QT, what are you up to?
Nothing much, just reading, posting content about reading. So pretty fun if you're into reading, and not so much if you're not.
And maybe someday she'll be reading and posting content about Behind the Mirror.
Ooh, no, yes, 100%. I'm so ready for that. But yeah, I'm just at Corey Tyler everywhere, posting all the things. I have Perfect Match coming out August 1st, which yikes. Don't ask me any questions about that. That's crazy. If you see me on that show, no, you didn't. Yeah, that's really it. All I got going for me.
All right. And of course, you can find Melissa at It's Melissa with 3 A's.
Yep.
3 of them. And that's what we have for you. Thank you all so much for joining us here tonight. And we will see all of you next time.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.